this is a very important program that is being organized, firstly sponsored by National Commission for Women, New Delhi, to whom we are thankful because they time and again funds us for creating such awareness programs within our campus, not only for girl students but overall for the people on the campus. And it's in collaboration with Mission Shakti Social Welfare Department, J&K. We also acknowledge that. It was a pleasure to listen to our young speaker, Said Salit Shah, who I suppose is a role model for so many girls in our valley, and I'm sure that many of our young students here must be impressed the way she has taken up this particular role, how she has been trained, and how from engineering she came into police. So I'm sure that she'll be an inspiration and role model for so many young girls in future. It's our endeavor and it's our motive to get such personalities on the campus for such programs so that they are visible and they interact with our students. We are really grateful to her because, of course, she also remains very busy for speaking such wonderful experiences with our students. And I'm sure that Women's Studies Center in future also will try to be associated with Said Salit and see how we can work together in future also. I remember long time back, 2010 or 16 or 15 somewhere, when Domestic Violence Act was not in the valley, in J&K itself. I, through Women's Studies Center, organized. It was funded by again Women's Commission of India. I organized a seminar on sensitization of media and police, where the DG also came himself, and we deliberated upon why the Domestic Violence Act is not in the valley. It was a full-day seminar, media, police personnel, also there were different sessions where the speakers spoke, and within 3 days, the Domestic Violence Act came into force in the valley. So this is the power of organizing such programs because it sensitizes us. So I'm sure, Dr. Roshanara and her team will organize the sessions not only for our own students, even for the women at grassroots level, where the more need is there to sensitize them. We have good number of class 4 employees here. We have the connection with the community. So I'm sure, let's see how they, go on with this and how we can, sensitize women at the grassroots level so that really it makes a change. Whatever you said, it reaches to the relevant quarters. As I said, we need again to rope in the women from community level, where some of them really suffer, but they are very ignorant. They don't know, they are not aware of the process, they are not aware of the system, and they don't have any help where to go. So I'm sure with the help of Department of Law, Women's Studies, Social Work, Sociology, Home Science, they can all collaborate together, and let's see how it comes up, because that will be the real service to the society if we are able to do that and identify the women where the help is needed. talking about the Women's Studies and Research Center of our university, very proudly and with great satisfaction, I say it that this is the only center in the North India which has survived and which has introduced masters in gender studies. Other centers have been, they have collapsed and no center moved forward after 5 years. This is the only center which survived, and I remember I was registrar at that time, and I fought in finance committee, I fought in syndicate committee. Somewhere, I was also snubbed, but I never gave up because I had that dedication and I knew that this center is very important. So, somewhere you have to put your foot down and put your, voice, which is genuine. I don't say ingenuine voice, but the genuine voice where you mean to have real, help to the society, and when you see that's the importance of the center. I remember Nisar Saab was joint registrar that time at UGC. He would give me, number of calls to send UC to do that, all that, and we carried on. And at national level, how many capacity building programs we carried on, how many programs pertaining to domestic violence, other related programs, child abuse, and programs pertaining to the welfare of elderly we carried on. So the center has that base, and I'm happy it's going in a good direction. Naturally, my being at the VC office, I have a great monitoring eye at this Women's Study Center, to be honest, and I do want it that it should be one of the excellent centers in our country. It should move in that, direction. I was recently talking to the Vice Chancellor of SNDT University. Some of the plans in collaboration, I'll get back to the center, where we can collaborate, have some collaborative degrees, have some international degrees, so that this center has a mapping on our, national map. Now, Nisar Saab said that we have good number of girls in our university, which of course do come after going through due process of examination with their merit. They are with us. So naturally, when previously we had less number of girls, we had less number of women employees in the university. So some of the decisions which were not in place, naturally we have to keep them in place. Number one, I say that good number of women have to be there in the various decision-making bodies. That's our effort, and it's the UGC regulation also. And naturally, when we have good number of women students, whether scholars or students on the campus, naturally these types of awareness programs have to be made. I'm happy that we have good number of men also who have joined us today, because naturally their presence is also important. Nothing will change unless the mindset will change. And when I talk of mindset, I talk mindset of both men and women, girls and boys. One of the speakers nicely spoke that it's not a race between men and women. It is not. It's not a race between men and women. If women come forward, they come forward because of their credibility. If men are now coming forward, they are also coming forward because of their credibility. I must say the system now is so robust that everything is being checked. The past was past. The future I can foresee is quite bright for everyone, bright for our young girls, bright for our young boys, bright for women, bright for our men. But in the University of Kashmir, myself and the others who have cooperated with me, I will not say only women, even the men in the administration, in the teaching, faculty, everywhere, they have always cooperated with me wherever I have floated an idea pertaining to gender development or gender equality, for which I really appreciate the policy of our university. Wherever we had to put in force or wherever we had to implement it, we did it, and even now we are doing it. I'm really happy. Recently we had C20 meeting of gender equality and disability. It was one of the very important international event where the working groups have framed their recommendations, which will go to G20 for the final. So again, keeping in view the importance of our university at national map, keeping in view the type of work the University of Kashmir does with the various organizations, with the various systems, not only in the state, even at national and international level. This recognition was given to University of Kashmir to host C20 event, and I'm very happy that University of Kashmir is one amongst the 15 universities in the country to participate in the G20 events, which itself is a great feather in our cap. And for that, all of us have worked hard, whether it's in administration, whether it's our teaching, whether it's our students, whether it's our scholars, because alone we see Registrar, Deans, Heads, they can do nothing unless the system works right from the down level. So for that we are we really appreciate it. I do look forward that such types of activities are further conducted in a collaborative manner. We are very thankful to Shah Salid ji for being with us this morning. Believe me, it was a pleasure personally for me to listen to her, and I'm sure that she'll be an inspiration to many young girls in future. And I congratulate Dr. Roshanara, to the Women's Commission, to the Social Welfare Department for organizing this event. And I was looking at the schedule, very, good, panel discussions are going to be there, and definitely the recommendations will be put forward, and so that, we move in right direction. Thank you very much.
As a member of the society, as a member of the family, as a member of an institution or administration or police, so the need to address the issue of domestic violence becomes very important. So if I were to tell you domestic violence क्या होता है, domestic violence आप basic अगर कहीं पर भी definition आप पढ़ेंगे, ये बताता है कि domestic violence कि आप कोई एक lady है जिसकी life endanger हो रही है, जिसकी well-being endanger हो रही है, जिसकी mental, physical, emotional, financial stability endanger हो रही है, या somebody is threatening her, harassing her, or curbing her independence, or not giving her due in the society by using violence, that may be in physical form, in emotional form, in mental form, in financial form, in sexual form, that we consider to be domestic violence. तो domestic violence की किस्में भी बहुत हैं. Domestic violence सिर्फ ये नहीं होता है कि आप physically उठाकर किसी को मारना पीटना शुरू करें, so we classify it as domestic violence. No, domestic violence transcends the border of not just being physical form of violence. You could be suffering emotionally, you could be suffering mentally, you could be suffering financially. Somebody maybe, say your partner or your father or any member of the household may be curtailing your financial rights. Even that is some form of violence, domestic violence. So pehle, the laws, I'll I'll try to discuss the types of domestic violence, and then we'll go on to the legal recourse. So there are many types. Like I said, physical violence, which includes beating, crushing somebody physically. Then emotional, psychological damage आप किसी को करते हैं to the extent that they may commit suicide, or they may be driven to the extent to take their own life. Emotional abuse is a form of it. Mental harassment is a form of it. Then financial harassment. You curtail somebody's financial independence. You try to curtail their freedom of finances, of economy. Economic abuse is also domestic violence. Then we have sexual abuse, sexual harassment, cyber stalking, voyeurism, acid attacks. These are all forms of domestic violence. So initially, because I belong to, and I thought it would be better to address it from a legal point of view, because that's my job. Yes. So initially, when law began to take its course, we address domestic violence issues under the IPC and the CRPC, that is the Indian Penal Code and the Criminal Procedure Code. तो IPC में 498A बहुत यूज किया जाता था. ये सेक्शन ऐसा है कि कहता है कि अगर एक लेडी है and she's in a household with her husband and the husband tries to commit cruelty or violence on her, or any of his relative tries to commit cruelty, mental, physical, emotional, sexual, financial cruelty on that woman, it is considered to be domestic violence, और इसकी सजा भी होती थी. Then what happened is, then in the 1960s we had the Dowry Prohibition Act, because dowry, एक प्रथा होती थी कि आपको, if a girl is married, then her father gives her some gifts to go into the new house. But then it began to be misconstrued. The idea of dowry became not as a form of gifting the girl to move into a new home, but as a form of abuse. और आप उसको कहते हैं कि वो लड़के वाले ऐठना चाहते थे काफी कुछ उनसे, तो dowry became that. And to curb, it became a social crime. In order to curb this social crime, which had legal ramifications in the matter that women continued to be burnt in their houses, they were harassed by their in-laws. Many women, you may have read cases of immolation, many women setting fire to themselves. So the Dowry Prohibition Act in the 1960s came to be relevant. Now, the Dowry Prohibition Act began refined in the later years, in the sense that punishment, fine, imprisonment tended to be associated with any form of taking or receiving of dowry. It cannot be. Of course, a gifting thing is something separate, but to demand or to give under duress, under force, under influence is prohibited, and it entails imprisonment as well as a certain amount of fine. The most important legal recourse that came was the PWDVA, that is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. It came in 2005. So it defined, it was a revolutionary act in the sense that it defined everything. It said that it came with the definition of the aggrieved person. So it came with the definition of domestic relationship. It came with rules, regulations in the matter of imprisonment as well as fine. So the domestic violence PWDVA, that is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, what it states is that if a woman is aggrieved, the aggrieved woman is what? किसी के साथ नाइंसाफी हुई है, किसी के साथ वायलेंस हुआ है, विक्टिम है वो, तो वो अग्रीव्ड वुमन बनेगी. अगर आप एक अग्रीव्ड औरत हैं और आप एक डोमेस्टिक रिलेशनशिप में रहते हैं, so it negates the concept of marriage. See, marriage is no longer now the key word. The key word is domestic relationship, which means whether you're married or not, which means you're living with your partner, which means you're a woman in a shared household with a male member. That is, you may be a wife, you may be a sister, you may be a mother, you may be a grandmother, even that. So it encapsulated all of these terms. The definition became much broader. So if you are in a domestic relationship with a man and he tries to cause abuse to you, or his relatives cause abuse to you emotionally, physically, financially, sexually, economically, then it widening the scope of entire Domestic Violence Act. So that became the protection of women against domestic violence.
When we talk in a sociological perspective about the domestic violence, we normally talk about the theoretical aspect. We say that there are three major theories which define the domestic violence in sociological terms. One is the symbolic interactionism, second is the social conflict theory, and third is the structural functionalism theory. When we talk of the social symbolic interactionism theory, we say that when the partners are there, there is a difference between the symbols and the meanings. In West and Europe, it is normally called the IPV, or the intimate partner violence. But there we see that there is a difference of the symbols and the meanings, and there are certain violences which are happening at the domestic level. Then we go to the social conflict theory, what mostly Salit was talking about, that we see that the access to the resources at domestic level is there's a gap between the access to the resources, whether it is economic resources, whether it is social resources, whether it is power resources, whether there is educational resources. So there is a possibility, rather when we talk of the patriarchy in the society, we say that there is a chances of violence at domestic level. And when we go to the social functional aspect of structural functional aspect of the domestic violence, there is the role conflict which I was talking of, that there are different roles assigned to the males and the females, elders and the children in the house, and it becomes a cause of the domestic violence at the family level. So there is certain theoretical aspect also where from we can get solutions also from these domestic violence aspects at the societal level. At University of Kashmir, we know that we have established a number of departments, particularly the gender studies at University of Kashmir, which has been established under the leadership and under the headship of Honorable Vice Chancellor at present. It was in fact a department which was established under the aegis of University Grants Commission as Women's Study Center, but fortunately the present Vice Chancellor, Dr. Nilofar Khan, has given it a good way, and it has been changed into the gender studies, and presently we are offering the courses in gender studies, post-graduation courses in gender studies. We do have a good number of departments at university level. Social work, we have a sociology department, we have a number of departments, we have other departments where we teach about the sensitivity about the gender at University of Kashmir as well. Our DSW office, which is again which was earlier headed by our Honorable Vice Chancellor only for a long time, and now it is headed by the head of Department of Sociology. So we as University of Kashmir, as an institution, are conscious about the what we talk of gender equality, what we call of the gender parity or gender sensitivity behaviors at the University of Kashmir level. I'm always talking that we at University of Kashmir rather have imbalanced ratio of the students when we talk of the gender. We have almost 65% girls studying in the University of Kashmir, and I do believe that it is because of their own competence that the girls outshine boys at the university admissions, which is a transparent mechanism of admitting the students to the University of Kashmir. And I am proud to share that at the last convocation, when we gave the gold medals to the students, 85% gold medals were given to the girl students. So at the University of Kashmir, we are conscious, we are under the leadership of our Honorable Vice Chancellor. And I am again to share here that particularly the Honorable Vice Chancellor is very particular to encourage girl students for extracurricular activities, particularly the sports activities at University of Kashmir. And this year we were able to send our three teams of girls. It was cricket, it was hockey, it was basketball, which is your domain only. So we were able to send 3 girl student teams to the All India level, which is conducted by Association of Indian Universities at the national level, and under her leadership we have sent 3 teams of girls to participate at the national level. So we at University of Kashmir try to, within our scarce resources, we try to create an atmosphere which is very sensitive to the gender. And I hope that under the leadership of our Vice Chancellor and the departments which we function here, particularly the sociology, social work, gender studies, we will flourish in championing this cause in future also. Thank you all.
We are pleased that whatever you see today, this child is in full bloom in the form of a teaching and research department. What we mean by domestic violence? Every time we are all knowing that violence against women is a global phenomenon now. It is not that it is a local issue or it is a national issue, but it is a global issue now. And all the parts of the world are equally facing this menace. And the title that we have chosen today, it has been given by Mission Shakti, Mission Shakti Department of Social Welfare, J&K, and that we have collaborated in this event with them, and it is being sponsored by National Commission for Women. I wholeheartedly welcome the guests from Mission Shakti Social Welfare Department, especially Samina ji, who is the director of this.